Hello everyone, this is Isaac from the Eden Prairie Teen Tech Squad, and I hope everyone is doing well right now in these uncertain times. So, anyways, today I have prepared a video for you all about designing and programming basic games, specifically in Python. If you want to write out the whole code, I will attach the link explaining everything in more detail after this video is over. But in this video, I'm just going to outline the big tips and tricks that you need to know to get started on your first Python game. But before we actually get into any actual Python coding or any inputting of the code, I would say that my biggest tip actually is choosing the right resources. If you are a starter, you'll see many different sites to use to actually input the Python code. So I'll just run you through 3 basic resources. All of them will be linked in the description below that I believe are the best for using Python. So the first one is directly from the Python site, which allows you to, just download it and put it into your terminal and use. A pro of it is it's direct, it's safe, it's reliable, you know what you're getting. A con is that it requires a download. So if you're just a starter, it might be lengthy, and you might not want to do that. Just one thing I would recommend you all ask your parents before downloading anything on your computer. So if you don't want to do that route, these next 2 websites will be perfect for you. The first one is CodeHS. So CodeHS is a school-sponsored program or website that allows students to learn code on their own. What's cool about this website is if you ever get stuck and ever want to do specific projects, they have a lot of already made tutorials that you can follow to take you through this step by step. But the con here is that you might have to make your own account, and with that own account, you have to navigate their very many links that they have here. But they do have this feature that I find really interesting, and it's for those who want to expand their knowledge to get a rudimentary knowledge of all coding languages, not just one, which is the sandbox option. You can press, for example, any new program. I just named it Hangman, create program. Look, you can use so many different languages, and so if you want to learn HTML, you can just press HTML and start coding in HTML. So that's a very interesting format that I would like if I were like wanting to learn all about these coding languages. I would choose this. But then let's go to our last resource, which is Online Python Compiler or Online Python IDE. This, I think, if you just want to make a Python game, if you just want to learn Python, this is single hands down the best website or resources to use to learn Python. The reason why is there's no download required, no login required. All you have to do is go in and you're ready to code, right? Because you just click on the website and you can make new files, you can make new folders, and from there you can start coding your projects, you can run them, and everything's just there for you. Now we're on the Python IDE, getting ready to start our first coding tip. So before everyone gets started, as an absolute beginner, I would highly recommend everyone to familiarize themselves with the syntax of Python first before we get started. There's many great videos and tutorials online explaining how to do that. I'll link any resource I reference in this video in the description below. So what I recommend is actually using CodeHS like I referenced in the last tip. It's a really good resource because it allows you to watch videos, look at examples, and then try it for yourself. So if you want to get the basics down, essentially get the language down, then I would recommend first watching their videos before moving on to real projects. So right here we have the what I think is one of the most important things that one would have to learn in Python before getting started on any coding. These are conditional statements. These are essentially used in almost every code you see out there, every Python code, and they're essentially commonplace among all like programming languages. So what I have here is a basic if-else statement, or just if statement. A equals whatever value, B equals value. If A is less than B, then it will print out this in the terminal, and then for everything else, it'll print out A is not less than B. It's pretty self-explanatory, so let's just run this through. A equals 7, B equals 2, so obviously A is not less than B, so it should print out A is not less than B. Let's run this code. A is not less than B, look at that. So, let's say A equals 1. And there we go, A is less than B. So one important tip that I would give you all when you're writing out code like this is to be specific, or make sure your syntax is specific and written correctly. Because it's very important that if you don't have, for example, the right syntax, if you're missing a space or two, or for example, missing a colon, then it won't be able to realize the code or read the code at all, and it'll give you an error. So just make sure that whenever you're typing code, it's specific and it's the correct syntax available. Now, let's say you have a question. What if I don't want it to do only 2 statements? I don't want it to check one variable and then just return one answer or the other. I wanted to check, hey, maybe I want to check if A equals B. This is where the else if statements come in play. So let's take a look at this. It's essentially the same thing as I had before, but I added this in. This stands for else if A double equal sign B colon print A is equal to B. So this essentially adds a second condition into the code that after it checks that if A is less than B and finds it's not, it will also check if A is equal to B. And if it is, it will print that. And then for everything else, it'll print A is greater than B. So let's just give this a shot. A is 2, B is 5. Let's run the code, see what happens. A is less than B. Easy. How about when A equals 9? A is greater than B. Look at that. And then let's set them to equal. Run. A is equal to B. Now look at that. So why is this important? So the else if or conditional statements are really, really important when, for example, when you're doing a hangman and you want to figure out if the letter that the user has inputted is correct or not. So these things are really important, and yeah, that's the first thing I recommend everyone learning when they're learning the basics of Python. On the game design. So game design is really important, and before we get started on putting all the code in, it's important that we set up game logic. Game logic is what we want to do and what our plan is for approaching this game. So what the hashtag means is essentially denotes that it's just a note to yourself and the machine won't read anything. For example, if I run this right now, it won't return anything, and that's because all the hashtags are essentially camouflage for the machine. It won't be able to see any of this. They're just notes to yourself. So let's get started on looking at this game logic. So game logic is very easy. Like I said before, it's a plan of attack of how you're going to write this code. So let's look at it. The first one is to set up the word in hidden list. So this is actually a tip within a tip. I would recommend when you're writing out a hangman code to have 2 files. One is the main with all your code for the game itself, and the second one is words.py or whatever you want to title it. Essentially, what this file is going to be is a bunch of words that the computer is going to randomly pick from, and put that as the word for the hangman game. Okay, and then the second one is to loop until either player has won or lost. So what this means is that it's going to keep on asking you for guesses until you either guess the word or you run out of tries and just lose. And the other thing we want to do is to display the hangman board, guess letters, and attempts remaining, while also drawing out the figure. So essentially it's going to display here all the things that I just said, and it's going to continually update every time you make a guess. And then 7 is going to be ask the player for a character. So it's going to ask you, hey,
what letter do you want to guess, and you'll put Y and then or like X or whatever letter. It's either going to be correct or it's going to be not correct, and the uh, the game is just going to continue looping after that until you obviously lose or win. So the next two ones essentially outline just that. It's going to show if you're correct, if you're wrong, and it'll print the subsequent message. And then the next two, or the last two parts of the game logic, are simple as well. Basically, if you win, then it'll say you win and stop looping. If you lose, it'll say you lose and it'll also stop looping. So, what do we want to do after we set up the game logic? Well, it's quite simple. You have the different parts. It's like a puzzle. For example, you have all the parts together. Now it's time to assemble all the parts underneath your outline here and then put it all together. So if I want to set up the word in hidden list, we'll do it under the hashtag right here. Or if I want to do the loop here, we're either figuring out if either the player has won or lost, we'll put this here and then so on and so on until we have a completed code. Wraps up today's video. If you want to see more of this content or you want to see me actually writing out a tutorial of Hangman, let us know in the comments or the survey linked below. Or if you simply have any other ideas of projects or ideas you want us to do, let us know again in the survey and we'll be sure to respond. So again, this has been Isaac with the Eden Prairie Teen Tech Squad. I hope you all are having a great day. Peace out.